Hey guys, we're fixing to start a new project. We just finished on the mantel, and so we'll be moving over to our staircase now. Now, if you want to see the mantel piece, we'll put the video in there so you can watch that if you like to. But now we'll be working on this. We're going to do this in a two-tone. We're going to do the spindles and the bottom part and a paint, which actually is the one we used on the fireplace. And then we'll be taking the baluster and the rail, and we're going to stain that. And if you come to the back side over here, you'll see a rail and a baseboard. Now the baseboard we're going to paint, and then the rail we will stain. And if you look up our stairwell, you can see there's wood on each side, and we'll be painting those. So we're going to be showing you what to do, we're going to be showing you how to do it, and we'll be showing you what materials we'll be using to get this job done. So let's get started. All right guys, we're starting the project now, and first, always safety. Got my gloves, I got my protective glasses in here when I need them. And so first, prep work. Getting everything set before you start the project. And you can see I've got mine started here. And I want to show you something real quick. When you're setting this up, you want to protect what you're not going to be doing. Say we're painting this, well we don't want paint on this. So I take my tape and I get it flush against the wood. And take your finger and just rub that in really good. That way, when you're painting and you get right on that little lip there, it's not going to seep through and get on your wall. So think about that as you're putting your tape up. So our next thing, what are we going to use for the job? And in this case, you see our spindles and the way they're built and set up. And we got a big groove right through there. Well, sandpaper just isn't going to do the job we need to do to get all this worked out really well, because you really want to get that roughed up too before you start the paint job. So we're going to be using this liquid sandpaper. Now we're ready to get the sanding going. So you got your cloth. What you want to do is just get it pretty well saturated. And so when you start, you're just going to move in circular motions, working it in. You've got your little woodwork there. You can work it down the circle motion as you go down, and then just sort of squeeze it just to get some of that in there to that groove there to make sure it's covered. And then once it, you feel like you need some more, just put some more liquid sandpaper on there. And then we'll start on the spindle, and you'll just start working it in real well. Make sure you get your back side, and then when you get to the round part, you just work it around, making sure you get it in those little grooves, and then you'll work all the way up. So that's going to be your process, working down, working up on the spindles, working out. Now, don't get this on, like right now, we don't want to get this on the rail, because we talked about we're going to do a different color stain in that. So you don't want to get that on this right now, because when you're doing this liquid sandpaper, it dries in about 30 minutes. And so shortly after that, you really need to start the paint job, because after that period and you go a little further, then the strength of the sandpaper you put on there sort of loses its, for lack of words, power. So the paint won't adhere to the wood as well. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. You're going to have to be ready to do the painting, because shortly after that, you'll need to start doing that. So real quick, when you're doing this and you're working it down, and some people are thinking, okay, well, all that stain's gonna come off. Well, not really. You may see a little coloration on there, not much at all, because basically what you're doing, you're just working the liquid sandpaper in, which opens up the wood to be able to receive the paint or whatever you're doing. So think about that when you're going along, to where you're not messing it up, it's not working. You think it's not working, well, it's working. That's what it should be doing. So we got the first coat on, everything covered we need to for today. So make sure when you get through, you go back and you look for any runs, you know, because you probably checked, but check one more time, make sure there's no runs coming down through here. Look over everything and wait till it dries and put the second coat on. All right, now we're ready to move into the stairwell. We're working on that. Now, our challenge here is we've got our baseboards, and I know I showed you earlier about the carpet still there. And a lot of times when you see the baseboards done, they've been done before the carpet or the actual oak wood, whatever you're using, has been laid down. So we got a little different of a challenge here. So I was thinking of a way, looking at a couple ways, and you know, you've got your painter's tape, the blue tape, and you know, laying that out, trying to get it in there. Well, one thing is it's a moderate adhesive tape, so that's not gonna work for that. So I did a little looking around and I went to one of the hardware stores and I found this frog tape. And the thing I liked about it was that, not that it's orange, but it's a adhesive tape. So it's gonna be a lot more sticky to whatever surface you use in, and in this case, the carpet. So I haven't tried it before. So what I did was I went ahead and did a little section and worked it in, got everything set up, and I went ahead and painted it. So let me show you how that turned out. Get your tape, just get your little section there. All right, now, you want to start your end there, and this is the start place for us today. And then you want to fold it in there. Now, if you see with the crease, I've got part of it up on the wood. If you can see that right through there, let's get it where, yeah, you get a little, see how it's bending up against the wood? Okay, once you get it there, okay, start tucking it in. Just really work it in there. And you may, because you still see a little there, if you didn't quite get it, you can go back over and just get you another little piece in there. And then just, you know, if you see anything carpet-wise, just get you another piece and just really tuck it in there well. Just really tuck it in there. And then you'll just follow that same process. And like I said, there may be some times you have to pull your tape back up because you didn't get it where you want it, and that's okay. See, I just got it where it's just sitting on the wood. And then I'll just start. And if you need to, that you get a little plastic trowel. And I had one right here somewhere, but I don't know where it went. So, and just sort of, you can press in like with a little plastic, nothing sharp. Oh, thank you. My assistant helps me out here. There we go. And just crease, don't do it too hard, just enough to push it in. And you'll follow that same process all the way down to get it set and go up. And then we'll start the paint process. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the next probably 5 or 6 steps set up, and then I'll show you as I'm painting how that goes. Okay, a couple things before we get started painting here. When you're working in these corners like this, less on the brush is better than too much, because you wanna get an idea of what you got on there before you get close, because you don't wanna have too much there, because that's gonna cause you a problem. So get brushing higher, and then you just sort of work in to where you need to go. It works out where I didn't have too much on there, so I can spread it out pretty evenly without having to worry about getting too much down in the groove there. Because when you have too little on there, it gives you room for error, and of course you can come back. When you got too much, then you got a bigger issue, and it's hard to correct those problems. So just a couple things as you're going along. Like I said, just take your time. All right, so we just finished up our center boards and going up the sides there. Got all that completed. No paint on the carpet, which is awesome. So now we're going to get to the rail and the baseboard on this side. We're going to take off the rail first, and we also will be replacing the hardware that goes up, and then we'll get the baseboard taped up, get it painted. And then once we get that done, then we'll start the stain process on both rails on both sides, and of course the baluster. And we'll do that, and I'll show you that when we get ready. And once we get everything broken down and taped up, I'll let you see the process. Okay, so I've got the rail off, and you can see here where my hardware was. I had to sand that down a little just because it was a little rough when I took the screws out. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to refill those holes, because like I said, it's been 40 years and the banister has become a little loose for one reason or another. So what I want to do, I'm going to put some of this plastic wood in there to sort of seal those holes up to where it's got like wood fiber in it. It's more of a flexible filler. It's really great for like if you're having to fill in holes for like if you're, got stain going, or if you're having to really match up a paint. It works well with that. So a good little product. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna fill these holes in. Hey, just wanted to give you a little update. We put the DAPS plastic wood filler on there, and when I was telling you do it, just get it filled in. Don't worry about getting a little messy, that's fine. So let it dry, get set in there for a while. Got it sanded down. I think it turned out really smooth. For one thing, we end up deciding to go with different hardware, so we won't be using the same holes that we used before. But that's fine, because like I said, I think we got it really well. So once we get the paint job on there, I think it's gonna look great, and we'll go from there. All right, so we've got all the painting done. We got 2 coats and everything. I think we covered it well. So now we're gonna move into doing the stain on our rail and our balusters. Now for this project, we're gonna be using a Minwax Poly Shades. It's a stain poly, it's an oil-based, and so definitely get you an oil-based paintbrush. We'll be using a 1 inch on this one because it'll help with, getting into smaller areas. So be good for that. So this is a gloss espresso, so you can see it's gonna be a darker color. Now, the way we're going to do this is, remember earlier I showed you we're using a liquid sandpaper on here to break up the old stain so the paint would absorb in there. We're not going to do that with this. We're going to be using this, laying the stain, new stain on top of the old stain. What that'll do is it won't absorb like typically you would see, because what we're doing is we're going for like an old antique look, and so we'll be putting that on top. And it's easier really to show you than me tell you, because I know I'm not doing a great job on explaining it to you. So we're going to show you the process. Definitely showing through with the original stain, and that's what definitely going for. You can really see through it there. It just sort of sits on top and bubbles up some places, and like I said, that's what we're going for. Hey, just a couple quick reminders. Dry time is 6 to 8 hours. But to repaint it, the stain, is 24 hours, because you want it totally set up and dry. So when you put that second coat on, it's going to spread on like you need it to get that look you're going for. So we got the right drill bit size. So remember, when we're doing this, we're only going in about halfway, half the length of the screw. All right, now we're going to put in our hardware. So I've got the screw just set in, hand in just to get me set up and going. Okay, remember, I'm going to leave this loose. I'll get it just a little more snug. Just so it's barely moving. And so we'll go up and we'll do the same thing to the next 3, and then we'll be ready to put our rail on. As I was going along, I realized, this board is warped, and like I said, it's years old. So what I'm going to do is I've already got my bottom done, and so I'm going to go up to my top, and I'm going to get that exactly where I need it, and then so I should be able to manipulate these 2 and get them in place so it all works out the way it should. So I'm going to move up to the top here and get that one in place, nice and centered. Hold it in place, makes it life a little easier when you're getting your screw going. Okay, get that one nice and snug and it's in good place. Now remember, I cut that loose, which really helped get this thing sitting on here on this plate correctly. So now I can go in and snug it down. So we're good. And I'll just put the next one in. A little more, sit in there straight. Well, it needs a little pressure, so we'll help it along. There we go. I think we're good. So we'll get to the middle two here. Now, I don't know if you can see, you know, with I'm working, I'm hitting this stuff, I'm knocking some of this off a little, no big deal. Once I get it all in place, I can come back and do touch up and get it all straight like it should be. So no big deal there. Okay, that was good and snug. Then I can go now and get that one snug and get that next screw in. All right, so one more to go. And then we'll go snug that down so everything's in place. So I just got the last one to put in. All right, so I believe we got it nice and snug. It's not going anywhere. Good balance between the two. Like I said, in this situation where your board's warped, you gotta do a little work. Plus, because I banged it around some, I definitely go back and do some touch up, and that's not unusual to have to do that. So no big deal there. That was our final thing to put on there. I think overall the project was a lot of fun to do, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it had helped you if something you're doing. So if it did, hit like, and I really appreciate you guys.